Hi guys, well thanks for waiting. So this is what if Kamen Riders was in Fairy Tale. Part 2, so let's start. Chapter 2, Welcome to Fiore. When the riders stepped into the gate, they were ready for whatever might happen on the other side. However, what they weren't expecting was that the gate would be up in the sky. Ha ha! Right after they crossed the portal, the riders found themselves high in the sky, just beneath the clouds, and of course, they fell right away, free falling to the ground, certainly to an immediate death. Everybody transform. We will survive the fall that way. Had cried Shinisuke, everyone putting on, or activating, their driver and initiate their transformation sequence. After that, they, of course, kept falling, but now they were prepared for the impact. Impact that came sooner and harder than expected. They all crashed through high trees, breaking branches all the way to the bottom until they reached the ground with a thud. Groaning, they tried to get up and succeeding despite the pain that shot through their bodies. Ow. That's what I call a fall, said Kuda, now unmorphed. Is everyone okay? I feel like my vertebrae are somewhere else, but I'm okay, said Shinisuke, rubbing his sore back. I have to say, it was an interesting experience, but it would be best not to do it again. Add Sento, rubbing his neck, face contorted by pain. Wait, where are Gentaro and Haruto? That last question from Inu made them realize that Haruto and Gentaro weren't with them. While they were starting to feel anxious and worried for them, they heard two noises. One was wind, and the other was some kind of reactor. Raising their heads, they saw Force and Wizard, the first one with his rocket module activated and the second one in hurricane form. Well, glad to see you are all in one piece, said Haruto, a laughing smile on his face. If you could fly, why didn't you save us from that fall? Roared Shinisuke, his anger fueled even more by Gentaro comment. Hey, a free fall is a super experience. We would have been bad friends if we didn't let you enjoy it, isn't it? Well, it doesn't matter anyway, said Beltsan, not bothered by the fact that Inu and Kuda were trying to stop his rider from killing the two others, who were now unmorphed too. First, we should gather information. The question is, where do we start? What about that city? Said Haruto, pushing some branches to allow the other riders to see what he was seeing, which was a seaside city, with a big port, a train station and an overall bustling activity. That should be a great place to get what we need. Let's go. And they then began to head toward the city, where a train was just arriving. Train station / Indeed, a train just stopped at the train station, the passengers going down the vehicle. Well, not all the passengers. Excuse me, sir? Are you okay? The train controller was talking to a pink-haired young man, carrying a big backpack, with a scaly white scarf around his neck. The controller's worry was understandable because the boy was sitting on the ground, sweating heavily while panting, his eyes swirling madly. Between his legs stood a small blue cat who raised a paw at the controller, answering him, since the guy was unable to answer. It happens all the time. After a few seconds, the boy got up, still feeling sick. Impossible. I will never ride a train, ever again. Bar feeling his sickness coming back, he passed his head through the windows, his arms hanging limply. Let's go. If the info we got is correct, Salamander should be in this town, said the cat before heading out of the train. Let me rest for a while, said the boy, still hanging from the window. Okay. But as the cat answered, the train departed from the station, with a horrified pink-haired guy still on board, crying for help. As for the cat, he simply stared at the train. It departed already. Meanwhile There's only one magic store in this town? Said a young busty woman with blonde hair and brown eyes, currently standing in the only magic shop of the city, talking to the owner of the shop. Yes. This town is more prosperous in fishing than magic to begin with, he said with an apologetic smile. Only less than 10% of the townspeople can use magic, so this is mainly targeting traveling mages. Asterisk sigh asterisk I think I've wasted my time. She complained, hands on her hips, but the owner wouldn't let a potential customer go away like that. Please don't say that and take a look around, he said, trying to cheer her up. We have some new items, too. As he was presenting some of his items to her, she finally found something that she wanted. A silver key in a showcase. White doggy. I've been looking for that one. How much is it? 20,000 jewels. I wonder how much it is. She asked again, as if she didn't heard the first time. I said 20,000 jewels. Repeated the owner, but this time, the girl leaned forward, putting her arms under her chest, trying to make it look even bigger, half closing her eyes. I wonder how much it really is, dandy mister. And in the end, she did got a discount for the key. Apparently, her sex appeal was worth something. 1,000 jewels. Later, at the port /. The writers, after reaching the city, had decided to split up to gather information about that world. That's why Shinnosuke and Kuta were now at the port, trying to get information, but they weren't that lucky. I don't think this is not the best district to learn about that world, sighed Kuta, feeling down and hungry. It does seems like we won't get any useful data in here, said Beltsan, his sad face visible on the driver. They were about to leave when they caught an ongoing conversation. This time, we'll have a good harvest. That's what Borisan said. I hope he's right. The two writers stopped, intrigued, and discreetly looked at the guys that were currently talking, two shady-looking guy. Feeling something in their guts telling them they were up to no good, they stayed and listened. With his little happening tonight and his charm spell, we should get plenty of women, right? Yeah, it should go smoothly, but it would be better to stay on our guard. We better not let the guards know about our activities. Let's go now, we have to prepare the boat. As the two suspects left, the writers were looking at each other, as if they were trying to take a decision. You know, if we can't get any information about that world, we might as well try to do what we do best. The right thing. What do you think? Asked Kuta innocently, Shinnosuke seemingly taking a decision. He talked about charm spell, women, and probably something illegal if they don't want to alert the guards. What kind of policeman would I be if I let them do whatever they want? And you, Beltsan? Well, I normally wouldn't get involved in such a situation without any solid information, but I guess I could make an exception. Okay then. Let's follow them. /elsewhere /. Gentaro and Haruto had no luck gathering information, mainly because Gentaro's boldness was scaring people away, and Haruto was not really helping neither. They were walking aimlessly when suddenly, Gentaro's stomach wailed loudly, making his hunger known. Ha! Say Haruto, do you think we can find somewhere to eat? I'm not against the idea, but we have no money usable. I don't know if we can. But as he said that, they passed in front of a restaurant, and through a window, they saw a pink hair guy and a blue cat eating like pigs in front of a blonde girl who looked like she was regretting something. Haruto looked at the scene and broke the silence. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that we have no way to pay for. But he stopped when he realized that Gentaro was not by his side anymore, and when he looked back at the restaurant he saw that he was inside, heading straight for the table they were looking at. Haruto ran after him, hoping he won't have to stop him from doing something stupid. Hey! Me and my bud have nothing to eat. Do you mind sharing with us? Haruto was ready for the evident refusal that was about to come, but surprisingly, it didn't came. Yeah, of course. Come. A happy Gentaro and a shocked Haruto came to sit with them, Gentaro next to the boy and Haruto with the girl. Well, I'll introduce myself once again. I'm Lucy. This guy is Natsu and the cat is called Happy. And who are you, exactly? I'm Kisaragi Gentaro. Nice to meet you. And I'm Haruto Soma. You two seem to be talking about something. What was it? Being reminded of the interrupted conversation she had with Nastu, Lucy got back on her track. Oh, right. There's a mage in town, a famous mage called Salamander that. Asterisk PRFFFFFFFT asterisk Lucy stopped talking and Natsu stopped eating, looking at the newcomers who just spit what they had in their mouths, spraying each other before turning to the blonde. Wait. Did you say mage? Asked Haruto, fear building inside him, remembering about that world full of magic he was stuck in one time. Well, people who can use magic, duh. There's a lot of people like that in Fiore. How can you not know? She said, suspicious that those guys didn't know what a mage was. We aren't from here. We just arrived, and we have no information about that country. Answered Gentaro, keeping his cool while Haruto calmed down. You were talking about a salamander. How can an animal use magic? Now sent back on her main subject, Lucy forgot her doubt and resumed her explanation. It's not an animal, it's a nickname for a famous mage, as I said, but I discovered that he was using magic called charm. It's a forbidden magic that attracts other people's hearts to the caster. It was banned several years ago, but for that guy to use it to get girls. How disgusting. You talk like you were a victim of that charm. How did you get out of it? Asked Haruto, clearly interested by that magic. It's thanks to Natsu and Happy. They jumped in the middle of the crowd and that broke the spell on me. By the way, I may not look like it, but I'm a mage, too. Oh, really? Asked Natsu and Haruto at the same time, the pink guy still eating while Haruto was really attentive, Gentaro just listening while eating a pork skewer. I'm not a member of any guild yet, though. She added with a smile, Natsu almost ignoring her, but Haruto, who was sipping on glass of water and Gentaro, still busy with his skewer, knew it was a good way to learn a little more about that world. A guild? What is that? Asked Gentaro. Ah, a guild is an association for mages and it will mediate jobs and other information to mages. Mages won't be considered full-fledged until they work for a guild. She explained calmly before entering what could be seen as a fangirl mode. There are so many guilds all over the world and it's pretty hard to get into the guilds that are popular. Many great mages will gather at the one I want to get into. Ah. What should I do? I want to get in, but I bet it'll be hard. And as if she suddenly remembered that she was not alone, she turned to the boys. Ah, sorry. You wouldn't understand a story from the world of mages, would you? Well, I sure don't when you began muttering like that. Said Haruto, lost after her rambling. But he get the main idea about the guild. Those guilds seems like a nice place to make friends. I like it already. Said Gentaro, smiling widely while next to him, Natsu and Happy were still dumbfounded by Lucy's muttering. You talk a lot. Simply said Happy, but Lucy ignored him, asking Natsu and his feline friend a question. By the way, aren't you guys looking for someone? Her question got the attention of both writers who just listened, simply sipping on a drink. It's Igneal. Answered the question, before he and Natsu began talking among each other. I heard that Salamander is coming to this town, so we came, but it was the wrong person. Said Natsu, feeling disappointed that he didn't found who he was looking for. I totally believed that it was Igneal, too. This salamander didn't look like a salamander. That last comment from Happy made the writers look at them like they were trying to understand what it meant. And seeing that Lucy was looking at them dumbly, it seemed stupid for this world too. How could a human look like a salamander? She half-asked, but Natsu's answer was about to drop another bomb on the discussion. He's not human. Igneal is a real dragon. Asterisk PRFFFFFFFT asterisk, and that was another spit take for the writers, spraying each other once again while Lucy was as shocked as them, but not for the same reason. There's dragon here! Shouted Gentaro, while Haruto was dumbfounded, putting a hand to his chest, almost feeling Wizard Dragon roaring inside him. Well, of course. How can you not know? Simply said the cat, but before any of the writer could answer, Lucy voiced her reaction, which was more of a statement than anything else. There's no way such a thing would be in this town. She shouted, the writer agreeing because a dragon would be easy to spot if he was taking a stroll in the city. And judging by their reaction, neither the boy nor the cat had thought about that. Don't tell me you only just noticed. After that, she took her bag and got up, Haruto getting up to let her pass. I guess I better get going. But go ahead and take your time, she said while leaving some money on the table. Seeing that, Natsu and Happy suddenly got up, pushing Gentaro away and kneeled on the ground, taking everyone in the restaurant by surprise. Thank you for the meal, they shouted, much to Lucy's annoyance, more than embarrassed, the writers looking at the scene not knowing what they should feel about that. Don't worry. You helped me, too. So we're even now, right? She said honestly, but also looking like she was trying to stop him from doing anything weird again. I don't feel like I've helped you at all. Oh yeah, he said before suddenly getting up from his kneeling position and going to Lucy, a piece of paper with the name Salamander on it. I'll give you this. I don't want that, she shouted, knocking the paper out of Natsu's hand and heading out of the restaurant. After a few quiet seconds, Natsu picked his things up and left with Happy, but not before one last word to Haruto and Gentaro. Well, it was nice meeting you. Goodbye. Goodbye. After they left, Haruto and Gentaro looked at the door before looking at each other. Well, a world of mage, guild and dragon. Aren't you happy, Haruto? I'm more intrigued. It's a little late to say. Come on, we have some time left. Slash a little while later dash slash. Emu, as the doctor he was sure he'll end up losing his voice from the number of sigh he heaved since he began looking for information with Sento. And that also was the reason of all of this. Sento. Emu never experienced what it was to be with Sento when the latter suddenly became curious about something and felt the need to know all he could about it. It wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't about every little thing just a little bit out of the ordinary for them, and in this world, everything seemed strange and new to them, or at least from Sento's point of view. Which meant that he spent all of his time asking weird questions about everything, scaring people away, and because of that, they got almost no information. They were currently walking in a park, Emu sighing once again. I think I've already said that I was sorry. At least 5 times. Said Bill, walking alongside Emu who was glancing at him, a peeved look in his eyes before looking in front of him. You know what? Forget it. What's done is done. Let's just focus on whatever information we can gather, okay? Alright, I'll behave. With that, they kept walking across the park when they picked up something. You are one of the mages of Fairy Tale. Turning their head, they saw, through the trees, a young blonde girl talking to a blue-haired guy. Apparently, she just discovered something about that guy, but one word got their attention. Did she said mage? And what is Fairy Tale? Asked Emu, looking at Sento to get some kind of confirmation he heard that right. She did. I knew that this world was working on some kind of energy, but can it really be magic? Haruto will love that. But I have no idea what that fairy tale is, but if he is part of it, it might be a group of persons. I am. If you want to join, I can talk to the master for you. Answered the guy to Lucy, the latter throwing herself at him, heart in her eyes. It'll be a wonderful party, won't it? Can I really join Fairy Tale? Of course. But please, don't tell anyone about Charm. She seems rather naive. Commented Sento, Emu nodding next to him. That guy felt like trouble to both of them. I'll see you at the party then. Roger, sir. She answered like she was love-struck, looking at the retreating mage, before suddenly realizing something. Hack! I fell for a pseudo-charm. But then, she was happy again. I can join Fairy Tale. Woohoo! And with that, snickering to herself, she left to prepare for the party. What is her problem? asked Sento, troubled by Lucy's attitude. Well, I can't say for sure, but I'd say she could be a serious case of bipolarity. Should we do something? The party should probably be held tonight. Let's meet up with the other. We'll see then. With that they left the park, forgetting the data gathering, and began looking for the other riders. Nighttime, on the boat / Lucy, clad in a fancy red dress, was standing in some kind of living room inside a boat. She was standing in front of the man called Salamander, the girl looking utterly disgusted. This is a sleeping drug, isn't it? Oh, how did you know? Said Salamander, suddenly looking a lot more darker. Don't misunderstand. I want to join Fairy Tale, but I have no intention at all to become your girl. You're a bad girl. Salamander said, evil seeping in his voice, taking her by surprise. If you just were to sleep peacefully, you wouldn't have to get hurt. Suddenly, a group of men appeared from behind the curtain, grabbing Lucy by her arms. Oh, good job, Salamander-san. Salamander-san, said one. We haven't had such a pretty one for a while, said another. Well, what's going on? Who are you? Shouted Lucy, feeling like something was really wrong. She then was forced to look around. Welcome to our slave ship. I must ask you to remain silent until we get to Bosco, lady. Bosco. Hey! What happened to Fairy Tale? She asked, sweaty profusely, now feeling the fear coming up. I told you it's a slave ship. I brought you in as merchandise from the beginning. Just give up. As he said that, Lucy lowered her head, feeling something else beginning to boil inside of her. Using the charm was a good way to influence girls and make them easier to break. But seeing that you can resist it, we'll have to train you a little. Salamander had said that while approaching the blonde, when he saw something on her thigh. Putting his hand near her hips, he grabbed what looked like keys. HRM. Keys of the gates, huh? So you're a stellar spirit mage. A stellar spirit mage? What's that? Asked one of the thugs holding Lucy while Salamander took a step back, spinning the keys on his finger. Don't worry about it. Only contracted mages can use this magic. Meaning, it's useless for me. After that, he threw the key through the window, making them fall into the ocean. At that, Lucy knew. Lifting her face, she was shown crying, but her tears weren't from fear. Those were tears of hate. How can he do something like this? So this is a mage of Fairy Tale. She had no time to say anything else, though, because Salamander was pointing a heated rod, with a skull engraving on it, at her. Let me brand you a slave, first. It'll be a little hot, but please bear with it. But as he was about to touch her, noises suddenly came from the hallway, stopping the mage. Damn it, Kuta! Can't you watch your step? We're going to be heard. Said a voice trying to be low but still hearable through the wooden wall, the people in the room looking at the door. Sorry, I didn't see that broom. Said another voice, more shushed than the other. You know, you're probably the nosiest one, talking so high, Shinisuke. It was a third voice, but it seemed almost mechanical. The voices suddenly stopped, but Salamander wasn't ready to take any risks. You, go see what it is, said Salamander, pointing at one of his men. The latter headed to the door, but when he was about to grab the doorknob, it suddenly busted out of his hinges, slamming into him and knocking him out. And in the doorframe stood Shinisuke and Kuta ready to fight. Well, we had a good idea, getting on this boat, isn't it, Shinisuke? Seems like it, Kuta. I can't believe there is scum like that here too. Enslaving girls, you are the worst kind of scum. What the hell are you doing here? Who are you? I'm just a passing through Kamen rider. Remember that. While the people in the room thought that suit-wearing guy was out of his mind, Kuta looked at him with a mocking smile. Did you just quoted Tsukasa catchphrase? Don't judge me. Bah, whatever. Guys, eliminate them. They can't go now that they know about our plans. But as soon as the fight was about to begin, something else happened. Something crashed from above, right through the roof, making Salamander leap out of the way. And out of the smoke cloud lifted by the destruction came a pink-haired guy. The brat from earlier, said Salamander, the writers looking at the show, as perplexed as the others. Natsu, said Lucy, wiping her tears. That was one cool entrance. What a badass. But as soon as Kuda said that, Natsu became green and sweaty, motion sickness striking hard. No, I can't take it. Barf. That's lame, cried Lucy and Kuda in disbelief at the same time, while Shinnosuke was thinking about another mystery. How did it get inside the boat? And from above? Lucy, what are you doing? The response to his question came under the shape of Happy, displaying a pair of white wings, explaining how Natsu got on board. He flew inside, grabbed Lucy with his tail and flew off, leaving Natsu and the riders, who were busy taking care of the thugs, unmorphed, allowing them to go away. But Salamander then used his magic, forcing the rider to go away. What was that? Asked Kuda, frowning. I think I just thought the same kind of magic circle as Haruto's. I did too. I think we'll have to go up another level. Are you ready? But as soon as they grabbed a shift car and a lockseed, a huge tidal wave suddenly hit the boat and sent them rushing at the coast. A few minutes ago, on the beach, Farjin / Sento, Inu, Gentaro and Haruto were on the beach, talking about what they learned about that world. Well, Gentaro and Haruto did since Sento and Inu found nothing really interesting. So, do you know what a guild is then? Asked Sento, eager to know about that world. Yes, from what that Lucy girl told us, it's basically a places where mages can find informations and work. She also said something like a mage can't be really considered as such if they aren't part of one. Explained Gentaro, scratching his head, trying to remember more. So that fairy tale thing we heard them talk about in the park is probably one of those guild. She seemed really eager to join it. Added Inu, making Haruto nod. Then it's probably the guild she said she wanted to go in. Good for her, I guess. Yes, but I wonder what that guy was talking about when he said charm. When they heard about charm, Fours and Wizard did a double take. Wait, did you just said charm? Asked Gentaro, worries beginning to appear inside of him. Yes. Why? Because when we talked to her, she said something about that. A forbidden magic, or something like that. And she had met a mage who was using it. Said Haruto, answering Inu's question. Why would she go with a guy she despised for using that magic? Even if he is from that guild, in her place, I would have given up on that one. Well, if she's ready to forget everything just to get in a guild, it's her problem. What we must do, however, is find where Kuda and Shinnosuke are. At least we have the suitcases. But as soon as the suggestion was made by Sento, they all saw something that made their eyes widen in fear. A huge tidal wave was coming their way, a big boat being swept with it. They had just enough time to dodge, the boat crashing down on the beach, and they had landed next to a well-known blonde girl. Lucy, still wearing her red dress, and Happy, Natsu's blue cat, were on the boat next to them, but there was also something they weren't ready for. A blue-haired woman, a jug in her hand, but her most prominent feature was the fact that under the waist, she was a fish. Which made her a mermaid? Dragons and mermaids, I felt like this is more like a fairy tale world than anything else. Commented Inu, looking at the mermaid disappearing, Lucy fuming at the now gone woman. After a moment to calm herself, she noticed the riders. Hey! Haruto, Gentaro? What are you doing here? Are those friends of yours? Yeah, and we could ask you the same question. I thought you were looking to get into a guild, not going on a cruise. Asked Gentaro when Lucy's face suddenly twisted in a disgusted look. You remember that guy I told you about the charm? Well, he is a member of Fairy Tale, the guild I wanted to join. He made me come on this boat for a party, but it was just a trap. They wanted to sell us as slave in another country. Hearing that, the writers frowned in disgust, not liking the idea that there was the same kind of crimes in this world. But as they thought that, they heard familiar voices coming from the boat. "What the hell was that?" said Kuta, still half buried under many crates fallen when the boat was washed ashore. "Don't know. It felt like we were suddenly thrown away like a paper boat in a raging sea." That was Shinnosuke, trying to get up. The others riders, followed by Lucy and Happy, run inside the boat to find the remaining riders, helping them to get up while in front of them, Natsu was standing too. But when they saw him, it was like they were staring at a totally different person. He was so serious, the complete opposite of the hungry boy they saw in the restaurant or the one that couldn't even stand up because of his motion sickness. But it didn't bother Salamander. "HRM? Brat, you shouldn't get on other people's ships without permission." That was meant to be threat of some sort, but Natsu didn't seem bothered, taking off his mantle, revealing Atone's body, clad in just a sleeveless vest. "Hey, throw him out, quick!" Two of the thugs began going at Natsu, but as Lucy and the riders were about to step in, Happy make them stop. "Don't worry. I forgot to tell you, but Natsu is a mage, too." Throwing his vest aside, Natsu was focused on Salamander, like the thugs that were rushing at him didn't even exist. "Are you a mage of fairy tale?" he asked, scowling at Salamander, who just smirked. "What about it? Let me take a good look at your face," he said as the thugs were on him. But in an instant and with just one swing of his arm, he threw both thugs aside, knocking them down, before dropping a bomb no one was ready for. "I'm Natsu from Fairy Tail. And I've never seen your face before." "What?" Salamander was in shock, and he was not alone. Everyone was now looking at Natsu, and mainly the red mark he had on his right shoulder. A mark the riders didn't know, but that seemed to mean a lot for the others. "What?" "That mark. Borisan, he's the real deal," said one of the thug to Salamander. "Idiot. Don't call me by that name," Boris said, clearly pissed that his real identity was discovered like that. Bora of prominence," began Happy, his back turned to the riders, who saw a green mark, the same as Natsu, on his furry back. "He was banished from a mage guild called Titan Nose several years ago." "I've heard from him," said Lucy, apparently knowing what the banishment was about. "He committed several theft using magic and got banished. Taking a fake name and keeping on committing crime." "What a puny criminal," said Kuta. "But if he was banished, it means that there are laws regarding magic, and it also means good and bad mages. And if a guild banished him for thieving, they might be rightful organization," added Haruto, feeling somewhat proud that magic user in this world had, at least, a sense of justice. "I don't care if you are a good person or a bastard. But I can't forgive you for using our name." Seething Natsu, grinding his teeth, Gentaro smiling at that. "I like his way of seeing things." Whatever. You're just a noisy brat," shouted Bora before casting a spell that called fire upon Natsu, scarlet flames engulfing the pink-haired boy. Lucy tried to jump in to save him, but Happy stood in front of her, wings and arms spread out to stop her. And indeed, there was no need to help him. Awful. While it was already weird hearing Natsu talk about something being awful while being burned, what was even more surprising was the fact that the flame seemed to shrink. Inside, they could see Natsu's silhouette becoming even clearer, and they saw what he was doing. Or at least, tried to believe in what they were seeing. "What is it? Are you really a fire mage? I've never tasted such awful fire." And as his words let it believe, Natsu was literally eating the fire. After some minutes, the fire had disappeared, Natsu grinning while citing of content. "Thanks for the food. Wayawaat." The shock was too much for the people on the boat, riders and mages alike, trying to perceive what happened. "Did I just see a man eating fire?" asked Shinnosuke, taking the words right out of the mouth of the other riders. "Fire don't work on Natsu. simply said Happy, looking almost creepy while saying that. As for Natsu, he was gathering his strength. Taking a deep breath, magic gathering in his mouth, putting his hands in front of his head, forming a tube of some sort. In the same moment, one of the thug was pointing at him, suddenly shaking, tears forming in his eyes. Bora-san! I've seen him before. Rosy hair and a scales-like scarf. No doubt. He's the real. Alas, he had no time to finish his sentence, because Natsu unleashed his power, his mouth becoming like a steroid-boosted flamethrower that put Bora's flame to shame. The attack burned all the thugs down. When he was done, Lucy finished the sentence that was still unfinished by the now charred-up villain. The real salamander. So that Bora took the name of a famous mage to attract attention, then charmed the girls coming to him to sold them as slaves? And I thought our world were the worst when it came to scumbag. Shinosuke resumed with a sour expression on his face. As Lucy said that name, Natsu had lit his hand on fire, facing a now completely scared Bora. Remember it well, said Natsu, ready to finish it off, running at Bora. This is the fairy tale's mage. And as soon as he finished his sentence, he punched Bora straight in his face, sending him to the ground, completely knocked out. After that, he kept fighting what was left of the criminals. Eating fire, punching with fire. Is that really magic? Asked Lucy, trying to understand what was happening with Natsu. Dragon's lungs spew flames, its scales melt flames, and its nails are dressed with flames. This is an ancient spell that converts the body to a dragon's constitution. What the hell? He is a human with a dragon strength? Asked Gentaro, trying to understand while watching Natsu plowing through the thugs. It's originally a dragon interception magic. Dragon Slayer. Igneel taught Natsu this. Finished Happy. Isn't that weird that a dragon taught someone a magic to fight dragon? Asked Emu, and judging by Happy's reaction, he never thought about that. So he is a fire mage whose powers are coming from a dragon. I've got the feeling you'll get along with him, Haruto. Teased Kuda, earning a smile from the magic writer. But soon, they realized that if he had a lot in common with Natsu, Haruto had something else the Dragon Slayer didn't have. Self-control. Blinded by the fight, he had destroyed the boat, the thugs, but also a great part of the port and the building around them. And of course, such a ruckus was not left unnoticed. A group of armored men was getting close, apparently ready for the fight. The military. Lucy had just the time to said that Natsu had just grabbed her, forcing her to go with them. Why me? She had said, feeling like she had already lived enough adventures for one day, but Natsu had other plans for her. You want to join Fairy Tail, right? She suddenly stopped complaining, looking at him with big eyes. Then come with me. She then smiles, agreeing before running by his side. Meanwhile, the riders were looking at the scene from a nearby roof. Hey, a guild should be a great place to gather information about whatever Shocker is doing, isn't it? Innocently said Gentaro. And if they are friendly, we could also get some good companion in our quest. Added Shinosuke, a smile on his face. I guess that's settled, said Sento, grabbing his build phone. Let's meet up with them. / at the train station / Natsu, Happy and Lucy just reached the station, but alas, they couldn't enter it. The military stood in the entrance and they couldn't get close in fear of being arrested for the damages Natsu did to the city, which of course made Lucy mad. Why did you have to go overboard? We are in trouble now. Sorry. Sheesh, you sure are loud. Just then, they heard some rumbling noises. Turning their head, they saw 4 bikes and a car coming closer. A white rocket-shaped bike with Gentaro riding it, a gray and gold bike with a red crystal-like face driven by Haruto, Kuda on a white and pink bike with a flower on the front, Sento driving a black and red one with a gear in the front, and Emu and Shinosuke were in a red and white car, Shinosuke driving it. Seeing those vehicles made the mages and Cat react differently. Lucy was intrigued, Happy was amazed, and Natsu was feeling sick. Shinosuke then opened his window to talk to them. Looks like you need a ride. Want to get in? We can drop you wherever you want. With pleasure, but we are heading to Fairy Tales HQ, I don't know if it's where you're heading, said Lucy, Inu answering her. To explain it simply, we are looking for people and a guild could be a great help for that. So get in and tell us where to go. Lucy agreed and was already heading to the door with Happy, but Natsu was still glued on the spot. Natsu! Come on, quick! The military are coming. But Natsu stayed deaf to those warnings, and Lucy's patience was wearing thin and she just grabbed him and forced him inside the car. Once he was inside, Shinosuke started the engine. Okay, let's go. But as soon as they left, Natsu was becoming green, ready to barf. Lucy began panicking, but she was not the only one. And oh. Don't puke on me. Turn around, shouted Lucy, pushing a green Natsu away toward the now opened windows. Don't you dare soil my car, you brat! I'll kill you myself if you do, roared Shinosuke, glancing repeatedly at the interior mirror to check if Natsu was about to puke or not. Meanwhile, Inu, sitting beside the driver, sighed. It's going to be a long trip. To be continued.